everybody. My name is Dr. Yasmin A. Flores, and welcome back to another episode of The Arts at EPCC. With me today, I have another music major that I dug out of one of my classes, and I just thought to myself, you know what? He has a darling personality. I think he will entertain us for 30 minutes. This is Mr. Moises Seco. Hello, Moises. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So, Moises, you are in my Music Theory 2 class.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and you had me last semester and you have me again this semester. And so you've been at EPCC now. How long have you been at EPCC?
I've been here for like a good, I guess half a semester, a semester, so
Okay.
that's like 5 months now. around
Yeah,
there.
about 4 or 5 months. Yeah. Excellent. And what has your experience been here at EPCC?
It's pretty cool. I like how they have so many services, like with the food pantry and all the other type of stuff. And I like on the orientation days, like the first day of school, where they have the ladies and on tables, and they kind of offer you if you need help to find your class and all that stuff.
Right, the hospitality tables.
Cool.
Yes, we know, and thank you to everyone that did the hospitality tables at EPCC. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you commented on that. Well, that's really awesome. So what I enjoy about having you in my class is that you ask a lot of questions. And what I appreciate about that is that you're not afraid to ask, because there are so many students that are having the same trouble that you're having, but nobody says anything. And if you don't tell me anything, if I don't hear anything from you, I'm just going to keep going, because it is my assumption. I'm like, you're good, we keep going. Yeah. But I'm glad that you ask all those questions, because then I'll see people nod and go, you know what, he's right. I don't understand that either.
Yeah.
So that's really good. So now, when you first arrived to EPCC, what were your goals? What are you planning on doing?
So what I plan on doing is, I like to make beats and all that. So like a music producer, I think it's pretty cool to make beats and all that. Mm-hmm. My plan originally was to just learn theory, because I had talked to my friend Eric. He's one of the owners, I think, of Star City Studios, and I kind of asked him for advice. It was for an assignment for class. And he kind of told me to take theory, because he said it's very essential and it helps out a lot, learning with harmonies and all that. So that's why I kind of just took theory, so it can help me out when I'm making melodies, and it does help out a lot. It's a lot easier, honestly. When I would make chords, I would understand oh, okay, these are the key signatures. So
that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. And that's just it. You're absolutely right. Honestly, in the music degree, the most important classes really are music theory. It's your instrument, knowing your instrument, and then the music theory courses. Because, as you said, a music producer is essentially today's modern composer, essentially. You have different tools, right? Whereas back in the day, it was a feather with ink, right? Yeah. The quill, and it was Beethoven writing out the notes and knowing a lot of these things in his head, because he was already a pianist. But today we have computer technology, we have MIDI interface, we have the electronic keyboards that talk to the computers, et cetera, et cetera. And so what kind of music do you listen to? What kind of music are you writing?
I listen to hip hop mostly.
Okay.
I also like house music. I got it from my brother. Just growing up as a kid, my brother would always have his little DJ set, just playing house music. I remember on Saturdays we would clean the house, and he would have it on full blast, just loud. And I got into the rhythm. It was pretty cool. Right. So I like house as well. And do you know about lo-fi by any chance? Lo-fi. It's kind of new.
Okay.
It's it's kind of like jazz, but it's very relaxing with a little drum beat.
Oh.
Yeah. If you go on YouTube, there's this. It's called the lo-fi girl, and it's this girl studying. And
yes,
that's what it is.
Oh, yeah. You're right. It is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Yes, from jazz. And I do know that channel because sometimes I'm looking for background music, as I'm cleaning or studying, typing, whatever it is. So that's awesome. So you were inspired by this music, by house music, and you just kind of imitated the beat for us a little bit, right?
Pretty cool.
Which is more I don't know, I think of it as the old discotheque kind of music. Not quite techno. What is the difference between house and techno?
That's a good question. House can be a variety. Like the type of house I listen to, it's kind of like, in a way, it's like jazz as well, but with like house. It's more like funky, stuff like that. Techno is more kind of like dark, like weird, like space noises. Like when you think of techno, you think of like aliens, stuff like that. It's kind of like darkish electronic music.
Yes,
House
you're
is more
right.
like relaxing, more like upbeat.
Yes, okay. I'm picturing that now. Back in the roaring 80s. And I remember that Power 102, as a matter of fact, at night, they would, because all the radio stations, they have segments, right? And so in the evening, past 9 p.m., they would play techno.
Yeah.
That was their techno hours. And it is great. And what you're describing as well, house music is great for cleaning because it's very like constant. It's this constant motion. I love that. So house hip hop, what's the difference between, so there's pop music, which is can be anything that's just gained in popularity, essentially. Define hip hop compared to rap.
Hip hop and rap, I think they're like the same thing. Now they are. I think it was just the wording, because I think back then it was referred to like rap, I think, or hip hop. I'm not too sure, but it's just kind of like a different name for it, but essentially it's the same thing. But I think hip hop was more like the old school, like Tupac, Biggie Smalls, all those type of rappers. And I think rap just kind of is more like modern now. I don't know, but. So
is Tupac is he actually considered hip hop now?
I guess that's a good question, honestly.
Okay, and I'll tell you my understanding, which we take with a grain of salt, everybody, because I'm a clarinet player, right? We've gone over this. But I will tell you, my understanding is that the cutoff is somewhere around Snoop Dogg. It's somewhere in that ballpark, because it was also the subject matter. And this is what I'm vaguely remembering, coupled with my hunch, that the subject matter is what started the movement toward rap as being a separate, I don't even want to say a separate genre, but maybe subgenre, because hip hop was the more happy-go-lucky. This was MC Hammer. Yeah. This was Tone Loc, right? Okay, the old school stuff from, as you put it, the old school stuff from the 80s. My generation, thank you very much. And so at the time we called it rap. You're right, that was rap. Okay. There was a show called Yo MTV Raps way back in the day in the 1990s, and they would feature all the latest artists of the day, and they did the best of videos, etc., because videos were all the rage back then, right? And so with time, right around Snoop Dogg, Tupac, Biggie, that, and then the East Coast, West Coast, that whole separation, that is what started this new kind of subgenre. Yeah. And so that's interesting. So hip hop. So when you write your music, what are the instruments you're using?
That's a good question. I like to mix it up whenever I make beats. Well, I have this program called FL Studio. Okay. And essentially, like, the sounds it comes with are okay, but most people, they kind of download VSTs, that's what they're called. They're just like virtual instruments. But it depends. Like, if I'm making like melodic type of stuff, I like to use like a lot of like harps, guitars. But if I make like dark stuff, like dark beats, I like to use like pianos and like violins and stuff like that. And just, I don't limit myself. I listen to just a bunch, even synths. Like, you can add so many sounds and they just sound good together.
Right. So. It's when you listen to modern music today, and even I will try to stay focused on what I'm saying, because I'm also thinking about something else that has to do with movies. But when you listen to modern music today, a lot of times you can't quite narrow down what the instrumentation is. Yeah. And it's because it's what you're describing. It's a combination of things, right? That on a synthesizer are being combined to create these sounds. So that's you're absolutely right there. Who are your modern go-tos?
Like for producers wise? Like
producers or your favorite songs?
That's a good question. Producers wise, I mean, the people that got me into making beats was this guy named Metro Boomin. Okay. There's also a guy named Nick Namira. He produced for Juice WRLD, which is a rapper. He passed away a couple years ago, but I would watch his little videos of when he would make beats. I would watch him like at 2 a.m, and I'm like, dang, like I want to make some beats. Like it looks so fun. Yeah. And that's kind of how I got an ear for it. Like I didn't know theory when I was making beats. Like I just kind of listened to it, and like you just kind of go by ear. But yeah, rappers wise, I like Lil Baby and who else? Damn, I don't know. It's a good question. I like a lot of rappers, honestly.
Yeah, it's hard to pick from the. Yeah, it's hard. It's like, who's my favorite singer? I don't know. I mean, there's so many to choose from, right? So, so you have these influences, as you pointed out, and also your favorite songs. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
That's a good question.
Lots of good questions today.
Yeah. It's a lot. 10
yes.
years from now. I don't know. Like I do obviously see myself like being like a successful music producer. I have thought about where I wanted to live. I thought about Cali, but Cali's like very expensive.
Yeah.
But
it is.
But if I make enough money, who knows? I like California. I'm between California and Florida, but definitely I do want to live there. Obviously I want to have a home.
You want to be by the water, it sounds like.
Yeah, something like that. It'd be cool. Just because in California, there's a lot of opportunities, obviously. Like, a lot of producers go over there. Like,
sure.
They kind of just go to studios with their USB drive, with their
You're
beats
not
ready.
mentioning New York, though.
New York? I don't know. I don't really... I like New York, but I don't see myself living there.
Okay. Yeah. Too cold?
Yeah, I think it's too, like, packed.
It is packed.
Yeah, I don't like too many people.
Yes.
I get anxious and stuff.
The first time I went to New York City, oh, my gosh, it wasn't even Halloween. And people were dressed up in costumes. Dang. And I was like, what's happening? It was June! And there were people dressed up as Superman. Another guy was dressed up as the Incredible Hulk. And I'm like,
that's funny.
What? And I asked around, I was like, is there a convention going on? They're like, no, that's just a guy on the street that's dressed up as Superman. I was like, okay. I got into the subway car. There were so many people I couldn't put my right foot down.
Damn.
There was no room on the floor for my right foot. So I had to hold up my right foot the whole time. Otherwise, I was going to step on somebody in the subway.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
I know, right?
It's a lot of people.
So it was insane. So I completely understand there. And California is beautiful. And so I lived in Florida. I can tell you a little bit about Florida.
What part did you live in?
Northern Florida. Yeah, I lived in Tallahassee.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so the southern part's way different. I have visited what's it called? Palm Beach.
That's cool.
Yeah, Palm Beach is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Oh my goodness, but that's money.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money down there. So I would tell you, I mean, my advice to anyone is to keep your eye on the prize, essentially. And figure out, but then work backwards. And so this is wonderful because there's people out there just like you, Moises, just like we were talking about in the green room. And I was telling you, there are other 18, 19-year-old students out there at home that are thinking, man, I want to do that. Yeah. How do I do this? So you've already stated, but now I want you to try something. I want you to get more specific about what you're going to do in California. Because the problem with dreams is that a lot of times we're very vague, right, with what we want. Like, one day I want to have a job and I want to play the clarinet. Well, what are you going to play? Yeah. You know, and where are you going to play? And where are you going to live? And how are you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because once you really start to, it's like, it's working backwards, essentially.
Yeah.
You have a goal, okay? And this is for all of you at home. And I'm trying to get the word out to all the 18 and 19-year-olds. You have a goal. I want to be a producer. Okay, well, what kind of music do you want to produce? You know, that's the good thing, is that you already know what kind of music you want to produce. Okay, well, where are you going to perform? Have you looked up places in California? Have you looked up clubs that actually play that type of music? And once you start doing that kind of research, it's going to lead you to more. It's going to open more doors to you, because then you're going to see an owner's name. You're going to see a producer's name. And then you're going to go, maybe I can contact that guy. Maybe I can get on a Greyhound and go to LA and go get together. Maybe I can crash at his crib, right? That's old terminology that's probably no longer in
No, yeah,
use.
people still use that to this day.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, some of my sayings are a little old. Just hang on with me. But you crash on his couch, and he lets you, take a shower, get up in the morning, head over to the studio, use some vocalists he or she may have right on hand. And you produce a song, they play it that night, it debuts, the radio station likes it. But it's all about being more specific.
Yeah.
How are you going to get there?
That's a good question. Sorry, I keep saying that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. But I'm posing a lot of these questions to you because you're not the only person with those questions.
Yeah.
There are so many people out there that enroll with us at the college. Or have not yet, right? Because they're still thinking like, oh, I have to go to admissions. Oh, I have to get my transcripts.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And it's like it's within your grasp, but you have to break it up into steps.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's very easy. Here's a great example. I have materials for a clarinet workbook that I could publish. Okay? And so then the question is, well, why don't you? All I need to do is set aside 4 days maybe at home, maybe a week. I'll give myself a week. Set aside and go, okay, today I'm going to work on the first workbook. This is the border I want to use. This is the font I want to use. Let me drag everything in. And if I write it down for myself, because I can be a little spastic. You know this about me in class, right? Anybody shines something shiny in front of me. You show me some keys or something and I'm going to follow, right? So I have to write down, number 1, turn on the computer. Number 2, open Microsoft Word. Number 3, if I do that, if I sit down and plan, then all of a sudden I can go back and go, oh, I could do this in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Bam, bam, bam. There's the workbook. And be done by Saturday night. Right? If only, and that's such an important thing for people to know, because we as human beings, I think all of us are dreamers, right?
Yeah.
We all have, these goals, and sometimes the goals sound lofty.
But they never want to put in the work.
Right. Yeah, it's because people don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's breaking it down into steps. So if you break it down into steps for yourself, there's an airplane. Remember I was mentioning the airplane? Yeah. So if you break it down into steps for yourself and you go, okay, how many songs do you have?
Like beats wise, I have probably like 400 around there.
That you've written? Songs?
That I've made, not songs, they're more like beats pretty much.
Okay, I don't know what you mean by that.
So think of a song but without the vocals. It's just the instrumental. That's
you have
what
backgrounds.
I make. Yeah, that's what I make.
Got it.
I just refer to them as beats. But yeah.
Do you talk to the other students in class?
About like beats and all that?
No, like a vocalist?
Oh, you know what? I actually have a beat that I made with Jocelyn, actually. Remember Jocelyn?
Yeah. And
I made
so
one.
you could get her to sing, right? And I can give you plenty of vocalists that have graduated.
That'd be dope.
Yeah. And say, look, this person's going to sing this song, and you can add your background beat, right? Okay. So the two of you can collaborate. Then at some point you're going to have to talk about contracts and who's going to get 50-50, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And so you can collaborate on something. You can say, okay, you contributed 70%, right? And keep a record of it. Like, okay, so if we ever sell this song, you're going to make 70% of what this song makes.
Yeah.
Create an album.
Yeah.
Daniel Becker can help you with that, right?
What was your previous question you had asked me? You had asked me
Good
like...
question. I don't know.
Yeah, you had asked me something like what I was doing to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty much what I do is I have a YouTube channel and I post all my beats on there.
Okay.
And like I used to get a lot of views, but it's because the algorithm for YouTube is a little bit weird. Like back then I used to get a lot of views. One of my beats actually had gone like 40,000 views. I don't know how, but so I was watching videos like why I couldn't sell them. And then some guy was explaining that you have to get yourself out there.
Right.
So what I pretty much do right now, I try to, when I have time, is I will look for artists on Instagram that have like the similar taste in me, like with music wise, like they rap on those type of beats I make.
Yeah.
So I kind of just DM them and I send them voice messages.
Wow.
And then, yeah, I've made some sales doing that. So I want to keep like making more, you know?
Yeah.
Because some people make a living off that, so.
I'm telling you, if so with EPCC's help, and especially right now that you're a student, so you have access to our facilities, you have access to Mr. Becker, etc., right? You could pull together a little album,
Yeah.
10 songs, let's say, cute little CD, and then you can start to market that. You know what I mean? And start to sell it. And there's easy ways to sell your own music. And so you can talk to Mr. Towns as well, who can kind of guide you a little bit. Or since you're friends with Eric at Star City, right? Eric Bozeman. So as you do that, then that's how, and then you start to market. You do Instagram, you do Facebook, right? It's hard at first, Moises, because you don't have a staff, right? But eventually it's going to start to pay off, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course. You're very welcome. My other thing is this. So I like to study a few things whenever I'm looking for motivation. Funny story there, and you can find YouTube videos on this. YouTube and Madonna. You can actually find online all of the letters that Madonna received from different producers and different record labels that turned her down. Do you know how many times she was turned down?
How many?
I think hundreds of times, because she was too weird at the time. Again, think back, what was it? 80, 81, when she was just starting to perform different places, and she was trying to get her first album together. And so I think it was finally released in 83, which was the Holiday album. I know too much about Madonna, right? Right. But prior to that, it was all about like, okay, so let me send this letter to whoever it might have been, right? And she got a lot of rejection letters. The same thing happened to U2. They have their rejection letters. You can see some of those. So you're going to be rejected 500 times possibly before somebody takes a chance. And so a lot of times you have to start with the smaller companies.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, that's what I thought about too.
Yeah.
Because I like to watch videos and do a lot of research on my free time. And he's like, you can't just message Drake and you only have like 10 followers. Right. Like, you gotta kind of find followers that have the similar ranges, you know?
Right, exactly.
So I message smaller artists and they actually respond. And,
that's right.
So.
That's right. And if you start to kind of work your way in there that way, and you know better, because what you're describing to me, like you're saying, well, I do beats, right? I'm sitting here going like, I guess that do people just listen to that aspect?
Oh, some do, but essentially I like to just make beats, but what artists do is they buy them so they can rap on them. They lay their lyrics over it.
So that just the beats alone is its own market.
Yeah, pretty much. And I have my little tag on there, like every producer has their tag on there.
Oh,
yeah.
That makes sense, because you're right. Because Eminem without the background is just some guy reading poetry,
vocals,
right?
Yeah, so that's kind of what it is. They go hand in hand. It's like peanut butter and jelly, you know?
I love it. I love that analogy. And I've spoken a little bit on the show in the past about that aspect, because I'm asked many times in music appreciation, usually, why don't we talk about rap? And I say, okay, show me the music in rap. Where's the music? And all it is just what you're describing. It's the background beat. That's the only aspect to it that's musical. The rest of it is poetry.
Yeah.
You know, it's the rhythm. There's rhythm in the poetry. Yes. And so we can analyze the rhythm if you want to analyze the rhythm, but there's no melody. They're not singing. Right? And so that concept, it finally clicked when I compared it to beat poetry from the 60s, right? guys dressed in all black with the black turtlenecks and, you know, playing some little hand drums and you know, reading off this beat poetry. But that's essentially what rap is. And so you're adding the musical element. That's essentially what you're doing. So, and so this is fascinating. So it's its own niche.
Yeah.
That people are actually looking that up. That's amazing. So I think what you can do is, my suggestion is to pick vocalists, to pick an artist and work with them and create an album. And then that would generate some more momentum for you. Even if the album doesn't, even if it flounders, right? But it starts to circulate and people will hear your background beat and go, you know what the catchiest part of that song was? It wasn't the words, it was the background beat.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, as an instrumentalist, that is what I listen to as well. I don't listen to the words. I never understand what the artists are saying.
Yeah, some rappers you really can't understand them.
Right. Rappers or singers. I mean, I listen to even my favorites, Madonna, Whitney Houston, you know, Mariah Carey, some of those artists from the early 90s. They're so focused on their melody and their voice that they're not enunciating very clearly. And so I don't even pay attention to the words.
Yeah, sometimes I don't, but sometimes I do. It all just depends.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, I wasn't even listening to the voice. Like sometimes I'll be so into the beat, I just focus on the beat. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, one of my favorite songs is Freedom by George Michael. Have you ever heard Freedom by George Michael? I want you to go listen to Freedom by George Michael. That background beat.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's classic, and it's just classic hip hop. But that's what makes the song. You take that out, and all of a sudden you're left with just sort of this, I can picture a very empty song, right? Okay, it's beautiful nonetheless. He had a gorgeous voice. Sadly, he passed away. But yeah, that makes the song. Superstition by Stevie Wonder. It's all about that beat, right? I mean, any one of your big pop tunes. Billie Jean by Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what would you do without the beat, right? Like, it's kind of silly. So, well, it's been a joy having you on the show, Moises.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I love to talk about non-classical music because I get a little burnt out too on my Mozart, right?
It's very different, you know.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. Well, Moises, at some point I may invite you back to the show. I would love to have you. And we'll drag Humberto again. We've had him on the show.
That's cool.
And we'll try to get a few other students from class to join us.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
It was a
Moises,
pleasure to be here.
we wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to everybody out there, if you're interested in checking out Moises Seco's
Beats.
YouTube beats, right? What can they type in to search?
They can just type in Clever with 2 R's and then space beats, and then my channel should pop up.
Awesome. Okay. So advertisement for Moises. Check him out. And thank you so much to everybody out there. We enjoy you all watching the show. And please reach out to us at EPCC. You'll see my email down at the bottom, yflore14@epcc.edu. If you're interested in music, send me an email. Thanks, everybody. You guys take care. Bye.